I'm excited for you all to be here. My name is Sylvia, and I'm a founding member of the Peace Leadership Collaborative, and I serve as a co-editor of Peace Prospects. I'm excited to invite you all into our gathering and to set us up for our time together today. So the Peace Leadership Collaborative is a global hub for peace leadership scholars and practitioners to advance and promote peace leadership practice and scholarship through resources, research, education, and to connect peace leaders worldwide. And as you settle into our space today, I invite you to introduce yourself in the chat. I invite you to share where you're calling in from, what inspired you to join today, or perhaps your work in peace education, and your contact information if you want to connect with others, which we highly encourage and is a real purpose of this space today. And we're gathered today around one of our core approaches to the work of the Peace Leadership Collaborative, which is Peace Prospects, an online magazine that brings together stories of peace leaders worldwide. And Peace Prospects is published twice a year, each time with a new thematic focus. Our last issue, which was published in June of this year, focused on peace education, which we're uplifting today. And we explored what it means to educate for peace and to collectively meet this moment at a global scale. And we define peace education in a broad sense, encompassing both formal and informal learning programs and focusing on learners of all ages, adults, youth, and children. And the magazine issue highlights the work of leaders, organizations, and scholars who are spearheading educational initiatives specifically focused on promoting peace. And so we are so excited today to uplift the power and the importance of peace education through the work of 4 peace leaders and contributors to this issue of Peace Prospects. We'll first have a peace leader panel moderated by my colleague Janith, and then we'll open up to all of your community questions and discussion and reflections. And so as our panel proceeds, I invite you to share any questions or reflections that arise for you in the chat, and we'll uplift them during that time of our community discussion. So Janith Pereira, my Peace Leadership Collaborative colleague and our moderator today, is a doctoral researcher at the University of Leeds in the United Kingdom, researching youth-led peace education, and is a peace advocate, activist, educator, and researcher. We have Roba, an Egyptian Fulbright alumna and a passionate educator currently working with the British International School of Gaza. We have Moses, who's the executive director of the Peace Education and Practice Network, a peace-building organization based in Abuja, Nigeria. We have Julie, an educational consultant, author, and founder of the Peace Pad, who's dedicated to advancing peace and justice education across all ages. And we have Ali, the founder of HIVE, a social impact organization in Pakistan navigating socio-political issues and security challenges. I promise you'll learn more about them and their work today as we move through today's session, and I'll add their full bios in the chat for you to read, along with a link to the Peace Prospects magazine. So thank you, Roba, Moses, Julie, and Ali, so much for being willing to share your stories with us today. And thank you all for being here today and taking the opportunity to listen, to reflect, and to connect. While we each have many places we can be right now, I think it's always important and always a gift to honor that we are all choosing to be here together right now. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this conversation and space. And Janith, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for the wonderful introduction of all the panelists. And it's a pleasure to moderate this very important panel discussion. So today we are going to talk about peace education, particularly peace education as hope, resistance, and transformation. Sylvia gave a little bit of introduction into what is peace education and how we approach peace education formally, non-formally, and maybe also informally. But to give a broad sense of the understanding, I would like to invite our panelists to share more about what they think about peace education, because when it comes to peace education, we talk about education for peace, we talk about education about peace, we talk about education by peace or peace through education as well. So there are multiple formats of peace education. So to begin this important panel discussion, I would like to invite all the panelists to briefly share What do they think about peace education? What is your personal approach to peace education? And in doing so, what are the things you are focusing on? So I would open the question to any of the panelists. You may unmute yourself and share your wisdom to start this panel discussion.
Okay, I can go first.
Okay, Roba, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So for me, peace education, you have, Jeanette stated like multiple methods, peace through education or peace education. I don't think there is one format for that. It's not a curriculum. It's not a handout, but rather like it's a process that we are engaged with, so we can open spaces for ourselves and for others, for young youth especially. Especially that I'm educator. I educate young youth. They are mostly in high school. So I focus mainly on opening that space for them to speak, to communicate, to reflect, and to lead. My aim with them is to focus on making them global citizens. My students are from Gaza. Most of them are located in Gaza right now, and some of them are outside, but they are all Palestinians who are located inside and outside Gaza. And as much as I know from my experience, Gaza is pretty much isolated from the rest of the world. Um, uh, they are being systematically isolated, and they are the ones who are always trying to reach out to the outside world. In my work, I try to connect them with people from outside Gaza so that we can have open discussions together and to connect them to other people they consider as the other so that we may somehow blur this thick line between like the concept of us versus them. So yeah, this is what I'm trying to focus on in my work. So yeah, I would leave the space for other people to talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roba.
I can hop in next. Julie Lillie, and I really use 5 peace actions as a framework for how to approach peace education. And so it's a bit of a more holistic consideration of peace education is such a big umbrella of different disciplines, different kind of avenues in which you can engage in peace education. So I find these 5 peace actions: seek peace within yourself and others, reach out in service, protect our environment, respect diversity, and be a responsible citizen of the world. I find these really encompass a lot of all of these different aspects of peace education, but also have a lot of power behind the action oriented side of it, because we don't want to sit just in academic discourse or talking about the ideals of peace. It really, where does change and positive social impact happen is through peace action. And these 5 peace actions were developed by an organization called World Citizen Peace. And World Citizen Peace is actually dissolving as a nonprofit, but they have asked myself to take on the mission and expand upon it. So it's a really exciting time of transition that we are in right now. And I know we've got some World Citizen Peace ambassadors that have joined us today. And our group, it represents over 3,000 people who have registered, and just some people are deeply involved in peace education in schools or in their communities or in faith groups. And some are just wanting to engage their families and their communities and know that peace is important to them and want to share and engage others with that. So I think that's also the other real important part of peace education, which I kind of come from, is that it's for all ages and all stages of life, not just for a particular age or group. And I think peace ambassadors who declare their intention of living and working in alignment with these 5 peace actions offer such a beautiful foundation in our communities to promoting peace.
Thank you so much, Julie, for your valuable insights. We have also Ali and Moses. Ali, would you like to go next?
Sure, why not? So, I think it is a very pertinent question, especially because in the current times, in the contemporary times, the global peace architecture has literally failed so many conflicts like Gaza, like Sudan, and what have you. I was last a week, I was at the Peace Connect conference in Kenya, Nairobi. 500 peace builders attended the event, and there was an amazing amount of, not amazing, concerning amount of despair and darkness with regards to the global peace architecture and what have you, you know. So I think we are in a very, very interesting time with protracted conflicts like Ukraine and Gaza, which was the first, world's first, humanity's first live genocide telecasted on our screens, and we weren't as citizens able to do anything. And despite an amazing amount of visibility and activism that happened around it. So if you had asked me this question 2 years before, I would have given a different answer. But right now, from my heart, I would like to say that peace education is not a classroom subject for me at all. It is more like a transformation, more like a cultural shift, more like a socio-cultural shift to teaching people how to live with a difference, how to live without fear, how to live without structural violence and discrimination that they and their elders have faced for generations, you know. It is peace education to me is to be able to listen deeply, because as peace builders, we sometimes like to talk too much, you know, without listening. So I would say that to have an empathetic ability to listen to communities deeply and to rehumanize the other. We have dehumanized the other. So I think right now the struggle for peace education is to find a way to rehumanize the other. At Hive, my organization, we try very hard to localize and decolonize peace. And our mission is to bring it from policy tables to village panchayats, to village courtyards, you know, and to make peace a very tangible thing, something you can see, feel, experience, live, something you can debate with in a real practical manner as compared to theory that takes place in academic settings. So I would say, yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Ali. Moses, would you be able to share your insights as well?
Yes, thank you, Janet. I hope I'm audible, and I hope you
Yes, you're
can
audible.
see me. Though it's a bit dark here. So, peace education, in my view, by the way, just like I've been introduced, I maybe I've missed that, but I am from Nigeria, as you know, currently in Abuja, and working around different peace building landscape here in Africa. So peace education to us is a bit beyond the theoretical framework, just like Ali mentioned and other speakers have mentioned. It's beyond practice, and it's more of a posture. Beyond the posture is more around practice, it's more around how you live your life and how it affects the lives of the children and the people we are serving, especially in places where people see poverty in reality. So before you even go ahead to start teaching, here is important. Before you talk about the knowledge, the attitude, the skill, you must talk about the condition of the human person you're trying to teach. Because most times when we go to school to teach peace education, currently we are already doing a sensitization. We are currently at the stage of we are sending letters to school. We started the work yesterday. We ought to be going to some schools again, just like we do every year, which is the first time. And I can tell you, when we teach those things, unlike some other parents, the focus is when you ask a child, what is peace to you? The first thing is that they will tell you peace is about food. Peace is there is food at home. Peace is there is job for my brother and sister. And that will tell you the angle to actually engage this contest, which is the way PepNet engages from the angle of human security. Because when somebody is telling you that I have not eaten for days, I have not really engaged, or I have not, I don't have clothes, I don't have shelter, unemployment of my people uh, is increasing by the day. The economic or the political policies are affecting everything. And if children can be saying things like that, telling you they just want poverty to end, and that is the entry point for most of us when we're engaging. So we will tell them that peace itself is you having food on your table. Peace itself is you having a job. Peace in itself is you having tranquility within your mind, but it will not come until you let them know that it's related to development, is related to human security. They will not listen to you if you don't connect it that way. And that has been our reality in Nigeria. So, but beyond that, we tend to also go deeper into the root causes of violence, because in Nigerian context is very, very, very unique because of our history of injustice among ethnic groups, which has become between ethnic realities and religious realities. Because here we have experience of ethnic tension among people based on history. So when we are teaching peace education around here, we tend, just like we see it in our manual, which maybe I will still discuss on how we package our content in a way that it meets those people. And we look at their situation to design our content so that they can connect with it. So we look at how we can prevent violence, but we pay attention to the root causes, and we use three major pillars, which is one, issues around justice. We define peace as justice because that is a major issue in Nigeria, considering the civil war experience and people that have not healed from that. We also pay attention to security, and we ensure that we divide these things into three major ways: state security, human security, and cyber security. But we focus more on human security because it relates well with that age group. We focus on that human security because it deals directly with these people. And the third one is development, which is so important for us. You know, we are a developing nation, and we are looking at every means to change the situation for us. So over time, we've used content creation, which is by creating manuals, both in text, in video, and in audio. Uh, we create content via television station, and I think that's where I met, where Julia and I got connected. And a lot of peace builders. We bring people around through television programs that are non-formal, that will not necessarily take them to class, because the aim of PepNet and other organizations that we're working together is that not everybody will have the opportunity to come to a classroom. So why don't we increase access and take this content to them in the best and the most easiest way, ways for them to engage this content? And that's been the work. We try to bring a lot of diversity and innovation, ensuring that it relates to how they build capacity and empathy, how they increase critical thinking, how they increase civic accountability and active citizenship. Because at the end of everything, we want to institutionalize all these frameworks so that we don't keep going at all times to continue the work, but for them to take ownership of this and continue from where we stop. So those are the things. Possibly I will just stop here and step back and hopefully come back again.
Thank you so
to share your
much.
panel.
Thank you so much, Moses. I think it was a pleasure to hear all of your valuable insights, because if I quickly summarize what you said, in my understanding, you told us the importance of creating real life connection to bring out the experiences and taking peace education beyond textbooks, beyond theory to real practice, to ensure that there is always the contextualization to address the root causes, and also to bring in the developments of skills and attitudes so that we can actually embed peace education as a holistic approach to building peace, but also ensuring that the contextual dynamics are really addressed. So thank you so much for those valuable insights. So let's talk about peace education as hope, particularly. So my first question is specifically to Roba. Roba, you have emphasized the importance, the power of storytelling in the magazine article that you authored. And I think it's very important to connect the lived experiences of peace activists, peace advocates, as well as other people who actually yearn for peace. So, how do we use storytelling as a powerful tool to bring out the hope, even the transformation and the resistance that we want? What is your personal experience, and how do we actually use this personal experience to be eye openers for others who are in conflict affected regions, and how can they use storytelling to make a change?
Yeah, definitely. Well, storytelling is pretty powerful. I think it is one of the most powerful tools to humanize people that have been systematically dehumanized over centuries, so that we won't be just viewed as numbers or names and headlines. When my students actually express themselves and tell their stories during our weekly conversation classes, and express their fears, their dreams, their lives, I think they are doing the dehumanization. They say that I exist, I feel that I matter, and when other people listen to them from all around the world, they can definitely relate to them. They can see them as human beings, as people who had hopes, and they deserve a better life than this. And I think something changes in this context when we all share our stories, our personal stories, whether it is good or bad. So yeah, it helps us all to connect together. It helps the students to heal when they put their pain, their fear into like words and stories. They can actually start recognize what they're going through, and have meaning. Me and my good friend Candace, she's with us in the meeting. Um, she has been a great asset to my life, really. And we also talked about Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and a psychologist. Like he said that those who are able to really do great stuff after hostility are those who could find meaning. And through storytelling, we can find meaning and make sense of what's going on to us and to the other people. So yeah, I'm so thankful for the chance to be working with Candace and everyone else who is helping in the Euphrates in culturing peace. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Roba, for that important discussion. I think the focus on humanizing is very important. We need to develop empathy and that sense of storytelling. I think that is very particularly important. So moving on, we'll move on to Syed Ali. I think when I read your article in our magazine, we found a particular statement. Our goal is peace, education is the vehicle. So I would like to hear your thoughts about how you use education as a vehicle to achieve this goal of peace.
Thank you very much. It is such a pleasure listening to you guys. I agree with whatever everyone is saying. So yes, when I was being interviewed for that magazine, I made that statement, and I meant that if peace education does not lead to transformation of relationships, transformation of structures of violence and legacies of colonial discrimination, then it means nothing, you know. So peace education has to be seen as a vehicle to transform, particularly relationships, because we are humans and we have social interactions and relationships is what defines our being and gives meaning to our lives. So instead of focusing too much on the ideals of what an ideal peace would look like, I meant to say that we should be aiming to reshape the relationships. And why reshaping relationships is important in my experience, it has been 20 years. I was only 17 years old when I started in Pakistan, and it was a terrible time with terrorism all over the place. I lost three of my comrades who were assassinated. They were peace builders and activists. So, I mean, in divided societies like Pakistan and many other parts of the world, there is some amount of unlearning that needs to take place. Unlearning hate, unlearning discrimination, unlearning condescending behavior, unlearning that certain kind of people are evil and bad, unlearning the hyper nationalist narratives that the modern nation states teach us, unlearning the religious hatred that is told to us through pulpits and what have you. So I think uh, transformation as a means to unlearn these systems of hate, and number two, which I think is very important for me as a peace builder, is to rebuild trust. I think trust has been eroded in this modern time that we are living in. Trust, not only my trust with you, trust between communities, trust between citizens and the state, trust between the state and the interstate bodies, trust between citizens and NGOs, trust between academics and practitioners. So trust has been really eroded and suffered a lot because of the way we have operated in this world in the last 40, 50 years. I think it has come to a time where nature does not trust us anymore with what we are doing with environment, because we don't have enough love to give to the environment, and we exploit it in the other way. So summarizing, I think peace education that transforms relationships would be the ideal vehicle for people like me, wherein education becomes a form of repair, a form of healing, not only of memory and of the injustices that we have suffered, but repairing imagination, the capacity to imagine a better future, repairing our belonging, our sense of belonging as a global citizen, as a local citizen, as a Muslim, as a Christian, as a Pakistani or an Indian or an American, So we need to repair the belonging and the imagination both. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ali. I think it's very important to consider peace as relational, and that is something that we have forgotten for decades. And now we are trying to understand, we are trying to explore how peace is to be built within relationships, within systems, and how we can work towards that goal. So, to further discuss about this, especially how we can think about peace from a very earlier perspective, from a child-friendly perspective, from a youth-friendly perspective, I would like to ask Julie about her advocacy for a child-centric, youth-centric approach to peace building, and why it is important to focus on the early years, childhood, youthhood, so that we can build peace sustainably.
Yeah, thanks. I will just kind of build off of what Syed Ali was saying, because you talked a little bit about some of the unlearning that has to happen. And I really advocate for a lot of starting peace education at the earliest ages. And parents and families kind of now naturally gravitate towards that in creating loving and connected relationships, helping how do we solve conflicts that come up between siblings and between peers. But in the way that I really think about this, and I've taught in pre-K all the way through college over the last 16 years, so I've been an educator for a long time, and I truly believe, and as does my co-author, Carrie Seeley, that children already have everything within themselves to seek peace. They are inherently born with that bright, beautiful, loving light within them, and they have those internal instructions within themselves to cultivate peace. And then as we go through life and start aging and going into school and different relationships and experiences, things happen. We're hearing perspectives or have models that are influencing how we view people as an other instead of a we, as Roba was alluding to as well. So I think when we really dedicate peace education to begin at the earliest ages and stages with intentionality, we will see then over time less of these challenges and issues and injustices and oppressions that we're experiencing then as an adult, because it's become built into our cultures of our families, built into the cultures of school. And what is the purpose of education? What is the purpose of schooling if not to prepare us to be connected and caring citizens of the world? So by really focusing our peace education efforts on starting right away in early childhood, we can then move through those different ages and stages with that emphasis of peace building. And I just, imagine what a difference that would create over time for our world. So I put in the chat a link to my book, Empowering Peace and Justice Education. And this really focuses using, again, those 5 peace actions as a framework. But how can we put this into place given what's already happening? Schools and teachers, things are really, really full in their schedules and demands. So we really think about, like Roba talked about, storytelling. Storytelling is such an anchor, as well as like all the wonderful literature that is out there. So in my book and my website that I linked, I also have a lot of lessons and resources and practices to help understand how do we put this into place at emerging levels, at intermediate and more advanced levels with children and youth. But it also starts with the adults. Like, what is our adult relationship with peace and with the 5 peace actions, and how we are, living and breathing that within our personal lives as well as our work within education. So I'll pause there, but as you can tell, I've got a lot that I'd love to say about peace education, especially with primary. So if you ever want to connect or chat about that, those of you who are listening, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Julie. I think it's very important, as you said, to approach it from the early years and then ensure that peace is linked to the psychosocial development of childhood and youth, so that it can be focusing on the relationships that Ali was talking about. Moving on to Moses. Moses, you have told us in the magazine that if people can't access peace education, then peace education must go to people. So how can peace educators embody this principle, especially when they are facing adversity? Because we all know peace education also means that you need to, as educators, face some adverse challenges. So in the face of adversity, how do you work to bring peace education to people, Moses?
Thank you so much, Janet, for that. And Julie, thank you for making it easy for me. Thank you for being a great friend. So, Julie talked about, which I wrote down, children already have some things in them. So the first thing, we must understand that our society is not an empty vacuum. It's very easy for you, because you think, or we think we are knowledgeable, to think that others have nothing already on ground. So we must come with a very curious and very humble mindset into the game of peace education. Let me put it that way. And this is important, because if you have a mindset of trying to create something with the other, it will be different from trying to impose things with the other. So if you have a mindset that there's a lot of resource in this particular group, no matter the group you're dealing with, either young adults, either people, religious people, either people in IDP camps, either youth hanging out differently, you must know that they have something already going on. They have a continuum of activities already. So as a peace educator, which, by the way, I stated that statement that if people can't access peace education must go to the people. I think there is a proverb like that. We used to use it around here, that if Muhammad cannot go to the mountain, mountain will go to the Muhammad. More of like a cliche. I don't know if it's in different parts of the world, but it's saying that most people will not have opportunity to come to the classroom. Most people like me will not have opportunity to go to school to study at the master's level, because most institutions in Nigeria, most places, study peace and conflict studies at the master's level. So what do? We study existing context properly. What are the cycle of socialization? What are the point of contact of socialization? Is it the family setting? Is it the religious gathering, churches or mosque? Is it communal meetings? Is it IDP camp meetings? Whatever is going on around you, the first thing is to acknowledge that those points, they are not bad in themselves. They have some values they're already dishing out. So how do you now integrate whatever you are doing? So you have a mindset shift already. So when you're now planning anything, you plan into their plan. And that's been the major way for those who know some of the things I do these days. Instead of initially saying, oh, I want to do a program to bring religious people to my event, what I do now, and for me, I'm a bit lucky because I'm a teenagers teacher in my church. So what I do is I seek just 10 minutes. I talk to the church, give me 10 minutes of your time. I don't need to use 20 minutes or use the entire day. During the International Peace Day, I secure 15 minutes. That was a big one for me, and I was able to teach some things. Now, I go to transport settings sometimes and just have a one-on-one survey conversations, and maybe do a sticker, something that you can stick on their vehicles. I'm planning to do another set of stickers now. It might look subtle. You are not trying to dominate your information on them or pour your information on them. You're just telling them, can we do this together? And before you know it, they begin to see this information. It might just be two words. It might just be a sentence you're trying to. And these are the subtle way you can integrate whatever you want to pass across to these people. For school settings these days, initially we used to demand for, oh, because we have a manual and we want to cover the curriculum, we'll tell them, give us like 8 months, 3 months, or sometimes the whole year integrate. But we discovered that it was so difficult for teachers to integrate the entire manual. So what we request for right now, which is working and is working well, we just demand for 20 minutes of the we demand for 10 to 20 minutes of the assembly time, which is, for them, they will just be like, oh, just come around. Now, if it's a social gathering, we just ask them, give us 20 minutes. Within 20 minutes, because the truth of the matter is, in a setting like Nigeria, you cannot dominate existing space, especially if you're not directly in the system. And there's a lot of tension too between teachers. Like, these people are coming to teach us what we do. So we tell them, no, we are not coming to replace you. We are just coming to integrate and to work together. So when you give them that feel, they feel like, oh, we are part of this. And before you know it, it's working for us beyond what we did 2 years ago. Now we sent out letters, and because they said, oh, it's just 10 minutes. It's just 15 minutes. It's just 5 minutes. You don't need too much time to actually transform the people you want to. It also depends on the techniques, depending on how you deliver it. And that is what I'm teaching right now. I've been teaching a lot of teachers. So we do a lot of peer-to-peer too. We try to teach teachers. So when we go on like that, we also find means to bring teachers together, or ensure that indirectly we ask the teachers to stay behind the student. Because sometimes
I think Moses is having some challenges with his internet connectivity. I think he might take some time to join. So, however, I think the message was clear. So I think we can still continue with the panel so that we can listen to him in another time when he can. Right. So actually, I think what all the four panel members clearly elucidated is that with their work, there is hope. There is hope for peace education transforming the world. So I think in different regions, from wherever our participants are joining, I think they feel inspired by the work of Roba, Ali, Julie, and Moses. And I think that would be a good connection to make today, because you would be able to learn from their uh, experiences. So I think we can move on to the next segment of this panel discussion to talk about resistance, particularly peace education and resistance. And to start with, I would like to invite Roba to share her uh, experiences as well as her focus on courage. Why do we need courage in order to make sure that we advocate for peace? And how do we do that in a non-violent approach? How do we advocate for peace, justice in a non-violent approach, but ensuring that we are courageous and we can pass adversity to ensure that we reach our goal? Over to you, Roba.
I would like first to highlight the idea of that Moses said that we don't need a lot of time to make change. They only took 15 minutes of the classes, and I think his idea is really effective. Yes, we don't need a lot of time to speak up or to say what the right thing. And speaking of courage, I think we need to kind of define first what do we mean by courage. I think, especially in the context of nonviolent courage, it doesn't have to be very loud. It doesn't have to be so dramatic. Courage can mean speaking up or saying the right thing, even if you have a shaky voice, even if you have trembling hands. Courage can mean staying kind when you are not in in unkind situation. It can mean listening with heart. So all of these are definitions or meanings of what courage means to me personally, especially when we are encouraging young youth to step up in spaces to be courageous non-violently. And I try to teach this to my students. I try to teach them that vulnerability is not weakness. It can be actually the most powerful thing that you can do to show yourself as you are. It actually takes bravery to stay open and to care deeply for other people. And when young people feel safe enough in the spaces to speak, and they feel heard and seen, they can naturally actually find that kind of courage to speak up, to communicate. I had students before we start our weekly conversation classes with the Euphrates and Culturing Peace, I had students asking me curious questions when they knew that I traveled to the US. They asked me that, how is the US look like? And some of them asked me questions, critical questions like, why does the West allow Gaza's destruction? And their questions were fair. I wanted them to have the safe space to ask those questions and to make them feel like their curiosity and questions are valid. But should be followed by, listening, should be followed by understanding that when they meet with other people, okay, that they call the other, the West, I wanted them to meet with American people, real people that they can be friends with, so that they can listen and understand and maybe have a bigger view than what they actually see or what they see in the news. So yeah, I think this is so brave of them to step in, to listen. And one moment of transformation that I loved so much is that we had a similar webinar like the one that we have right now with everyone from around the globe. It was intended to amplify Palestinian voices, and my students joined, and they could speak, and they give stats and speak with courage, and I love that. Like, my students did not know anything about, like, you know, global issues and how to communicate and speak to the other that they thought once is very foreign to them. Now they approach the conversation as those people, they listen to us, they are our friends. And I think this is the definition of courage to me and to my students.
Thank you so much. I think that's a very important example for all of us with a lot of inspiration, because peace education is itself a space for, the educatees or the learners to develop courage. And then they can take that courage to the next level and make sure there is transformation in society from individual to the global level. So talking about the Western dynamics of peace building and the local dynamics or the indigenous knowledge systems, local approach to peace building, which we also discuss, especially Roba's focus on the in-group and the out-group. I would like to ask the next question from Ali, because I think today, Western models of peace building are being increasingly criticized. The measurements are being called inaccurate, and there's a focus on everyday peace. And in Ali's article, we learned about everyday peace. So I would like to give the opportunity to Ali to share a little bit more insights about this everyday peace indicators project and why you think these everyday locally grounded conceptions of peace are important and more effective than what is normally at our display. Ali?
Thank you very much, Janet. Why do you ask me such difficult questions? First, tell me this. Okay. Yeah. For sure. Yes. Listen, of course, every society evolved in a very unique manner. And when I say, or when the literature, the decolonial literature says that the Western models aren't good, that means they aren't good for us, because we have had a very unique evolutionary process in our civil societies, in our cultures, in our democracies, in our governance, etc. So, doing this for 20 years and doing this for some of the top donors and institutions across the world, very recently during COVID times, 2020, we realized that the peace indicators we used to get from, let's say, the USAID, the FCDOs, the CEDAs, someone sitting in Washington, D.C., or Brussels, or London, or for that matter, Islamabad, when we are talking about rural Pakistan, then the peace indicators are very good for conferences, very good for academic papers, very good for, some other stuff, but the locals cannot relate with them. The local community members, it means nothing to them. So we then researched and we have developed a methodology. It borrows from the everyday peace indicator methodology, which the basic premise is that peace is a lived experience. Peace is an everyday experiential process, and it has to be measured in that way. It can't be measured in a very, sophisticated philosophical way. It has to be measured as an everyday experience. So what that meant is essentially now when we roll out programs in Pakistan, even these indicators are themselves identified by the community members. For example, a Christian girl living in a slum area of Islamabad who suffers from intersectional marginalization, being a woman, being a Christian, and coming from a slum area, for her, an indicator was that I can walk freely and safely within my neighborhood without the fear of being harassed. For an IDP who was living in Pakistan, who was an Afghan refugee, they said that the key peace indicator for us is having a dish antenna on top of our houses or our tents. That meant that we are seeking some kind of entertainment and we are not really fighting every day for survival. We have the dish antenna so we can watch movies, So that was a very cute one. And similarly, there's an amazing amount of everyday indicators that we received from different kinds of marginalized communities that were facing different kinds of conflicts and violence. And when we worked on these particular indicators, we realized that just having a needle moving movement within these small indicators brings them or increases the community's peace quotient. So it is not just a way to measure peace, it is also a way in which the communities define what peace means to them. Instead of me defining for them what peace means to you, they define to me as a peace builder what peace means to them. And peace being this complicated philosophical metaphor like love, like justice, there are no one ways to love. There are no one ways to have peace. There are no one way to have justice. I am also now reminded of the famous quote by Professor Cornel West, the famous US academic, who says, justice is what love looks like in public. So I'm changing that and I'm saying peace is what love should look like in public. Love being a very intimate and private activity, but when it goes to public, that is what peace looks like. And in order to measure that as a peace builder, as a practitioner, I really have to understand what it means for people in their unique way. And that's what everyday peace indicators are. In fact, even right now, we are doing some 17 projects across Pakistan with different communities who define in a very unique manner what peace means to them and how to reach there. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ali, for your response. I think everyday peace indicators are very important because you can make peace a lived reality for the people. And we listen to the people who really yearn for peace and consider peace as an everyday lived experience. So moving on to the next round, especially about transformation, I think I would like to now move on to Julie, who is actually presenting to us about the Peace Ed Gateway's key pillars in order to build peace through peace education, as well as the 5 peace actions that she discussed earlier through the Peace Pad. So I think I would like to ask you what inspired the development of these conceptual models and how do we use them in order to have meaningful peace education that can make us close towards building real peace for the real people in the conflict affected context.
Yeah, great question. I'm just introduce a little bit about Peace Ed Gateway. It was really featured in the magazine, but Peace Ed Gateway, and I put a link in the chat, is initiative of education for global peace that I co-lead with Gal Kleinman in Israel and Okochukwu Livingston, who's in Nigeria. And also shout out to Moses and some other folks that are here today that are on our team as well. And Peace Ed Gateway is really an initiative that's focused on mainstreaming peace education. So making peace education just part of what does education mean in school, in informal learning spaces, in kind of that early childhood through secondary high school age. So we really view peace education as a way to globally transform and how we want to support how education is viewed, how education is practiced, to one that centers peace. And we developed a peace pillars, another framework. As you'll see, I dropped them in the chat. They're very complementary to the 5 peace actions that like my book and World Citizen Peace Ambassador Center are aligned with. And I think going back to like what Syed Ali was saying about how important it is that the work is contextualized to the community and people that it's happening within. But I also am a big proponent of having some universal language and a framework providing that to provide us a starting point in which then we can come together with a general agreement of what is peace education. So for Peace Ed Gateway, we have the framework pillars around well-being, your mental, emotional, physical, maybe even spiritual. We have relationships and communication, environment and nature, diversity and perspective, global citizenship, and then empowerment and service. And so through our work, we look at these pillars as kind of our shared language of anybody who's engaging in peace education can connect to one of these pillars. But then we go a step further of, well, what does that mean in your community, in your home, in your school? And so we have this universal language, perhaps as schools, our goal for Peace Ed Gateway is to have classrooms be able to be connected around the world. So for our pilot, we've envisioned with Moses in Nigeria, and then in the United States and New Zealand, having different classrooms of students come together and working on peace education projects, and they'll share a pillar. So maybe they decide, we really want to focus on the environment. And so now we have this shared language of the environment, and we're looking at what does that mean, and what does that mean in our context? What does that mean in our country, in our region, and then across the world? But then more specifically, how can we take peace action within that pillar and being able to see, oh, maybe the school in Nigeria and the school in New Zealand have these beautiful ways to share and story tell and be able to present and highlight and ask each other questions about how this peace pillar is being implemented, what issues of injustice maybe are the need for that transformation. And so that common language of providing a framework, whether it's the 5 peace actions or using as Peace Ed Gateway these pillars, provides then that shared language for which then we can engage in our more global to local or global implementation of peace education.
Thank you so much, Julie, for explaining that conceptual domain and linking it to the, the real world, how we can connect with the real people who actually work for peace and who yearn for peace. So actually, this brings me to Moses. I know due to internet connectivity, Moses disconnected previously, but it's good to have you back, Moses. And I think the main question that I would like to ask you is about your approach to the PEPNet education model. You were telling us about reaching the people using 10 minutes, 20 minutes in a way that can be productive. So we would like to hear more about how your PEPNet model actually works in particularly your local context of Nigeria, and what are the lessons for those joining us today.
Okay, thank you, Janet, because of time and because I would not want that to happen again. So, and this is one of the contests we are dealing with, actually, and thank you for understanding our context. So, and this is also the major thing in engaging local contests. You must understand that they have issues like power supply issues, they have internet issues like this. So you must design your content in a way that it will reach them even when they don't have those things. And one of the ways to do that is to look at, for instance, there are a lot of people in Nigeria that are very much connected to information by radio. If you tend to design your program with a social media platform, you might not get to them. Especially in this part of the Nigeria that I am, in the northern part of Nigeria. So you must design your project in a way that it will reach them. That is for northern Nigeria generally. For instance, the program I was saying that was designed that connected Julie and I was Peace Zone on Kaftan TV. Now there are some set of people that are interested in television programs. You must also design such programs. So while we started Peace Zone in 2023, the idea was to just be teaching peace, but we discovered that it was not interactive enough. We need something more than just talking about peace. Now, what are the real life issues? How do we get the attention of the people on ground? So we get experts, peace builders from different contexts to come to the station, to either join virtually or come to the station to discuss conflict. ongoing conflict in different locality. So when people are hearing their local issues on the TV, they will want to call other people. Even we had situation where people in Abuja are calling people in the village when we were dealing with the crisis in Plateau State. Plateau is also in North Central Nigeria. So what am I saying in essence is that you must study the locality, the context you're dealing with. Most of our work is hinged around context understanding. Because if you're so curious enough to know what the context did, you will be able to design something innovative but relevant to the people. And we also, while we are focusing on different people, we still maintain engagement with people in the classroom. We design materials, we design a lot of things. And most times, some of these things we try to look at what is easily accessible. There are content we put on Amazon, but there are some content we don't put on Amazon for different reasons. And because we are dealing with a very, very unique context. And sometimes you will just see some of your materials everywhere without getting it from you. For a lot of people that know, issues around copyright is still a major issue around here. So a lot of things beyond the even that is also, but we are trying our best to ensure that we increase access to peace education. I don't know if I talked about, because I was talking the other time, I never knew I was off. So possibly I also just mentioned, we need to always train the trainers. We need to train gatekeepers. By the way, today and yesterday, I've been with the military at the Army headquarters in Nigeria, talking about civil-military relation. Now, this is also another way to always engage. You don't necessarily be the one to organize an event before you engage. And that is, most of us, we are losing on existing institutions. So it's best when you're invited either as a participant, if there's anything to do, if you see a loop of opportunity, a window of opportunities, try to launch it. I was just there and as a participant, but based on a lot of people, a lot of things, when I had a chance to speak, I tried to integrate peace education, understanding context, but not out of the context of your conversation. Connecting peace education and everything, I might either bridge it with human security because of the context. I bridge it with conflict sensitivity sometimes, depending on the context. I tend to talk about effective communication in such instances. So it's very important that as peace builders, we are thinking on our feet. We are very spontaneous to know how best to integrate. Talking today, I was able to integrate those things. And also, even if it's just you sharing some of your content online properly to increase access to peace education, that is also very viable. So use media content. Social media is a great asset at this time. And just do it. While it's good that you verify your content, I want to tell you that no matter how horrible your content might look, is a mechanism to break the cycle of violence in most places. And you don't need to make those contents so perfect. We have a lot of negative content taking rounds on the internet and getting traction. You that you have a good content, you that you have valuable skills, you shouldn't be discouraged in any way to put out your content because it's valuable. And before you know it, will transform the minds of a lot of people at the same time. When it comes to issues of method, I will just list them because I know I might have overshoot my time. Now, it is important that, like PepNet, we use a lot of elicitive and participatory design method. You cannot be teaching peace and be doing the talking all by yourself. You must be sure of you engaging people, let them speak, like we do on PepNet Community. The last PepNet Community program, I know Julie is there. Most of you, some people are from the PepNet community right now. And I can tell you that, like we did last time, we just say, ask any question on peace education. The idea of such platform is that it can be tricky if you're not that good as a facilitator. But the truth of the matter is, it transfers the power to the people, to your community. Just ask. And if it's too much for you as a facilitator, You let them know that it's too much. And you also tell them you want to learn, because there must not be this toga, this demigod toga as a peace educator. It must be a toga of somebody who is also learning on the journey. And if you have that same mindset, it will be a win-win for all of you. So it must be participatory, it must be informative, it must be interactive. You must make peace education sexy, interesting. Bring in game to it, bring in a lot of ideas to it. Let it be interesting. People complain about our theoretical frameworks in Nigeria, but people pay money to get some entertaining programs. We have a lot of very immoral programs on the internet, and people are spending billions on it. Now the question is, you should not you can disapprove their content, but don't negate their method. So as a peace educator, pick the method. That's what I'm doing. I pick their method. How are they getting over 10 million people on a stream? Can I understand their method and use it to enhance my content? So as a teacher, those are the things we are learning at Peace Education and Practice Network. And we are hoping to get more people, because the more people we're able to bring to our camp, the more transformation we can make. I'll just stop here. I still have 7 things to say, but I'll just stop here so that
Thank you so
I
much,
listen to that.
Moses.
Yeah.
I think today's panel was very insightful. And today we were able to talk a lot about peace education, its impact, its practice, and how we can reimagine peace education, especially to, as Moses said, transform power to the people. And I think that is very important, peace education as transforming power to the people. So on that note, I think we need to open this discussion to our viewers, the people who are part of our audience, because they matter to us. So now I would like to invite Sylvia to moderate the public engagement, especially to moderate the questions from the audience. Over to you, Sylvia.
Yeah, thank you, Janeeth. And thank you, Roba, Julie, Ali, Moses. You really just took everything off the page into practice. And it was just so powerful to listen to you and to hear the stories from the Peace Prospects magazine, which we encourage everybody to read and to nourish, and just brought it into like real life and practice and heart today. So thank you all so much. And we have time for perhaps like 2 to 3 questions or reflections from the community. So feel free to raise your hand virtually, or your actual real hand, and it will spot you on the screen, or to share a question in the chat and we'll uplift it, or reflection or sharing for a speaker. And I invite you, as you're asking a question, to name the speaker that you're asking it to, or if you're asking it to all of our panelists today. So Stu, I saw your hand up first, and then we'll come to you, Ahmed. So Stu, feel free to unmute.
Thank
There you
you.
go.
One thing I want to say about teaching. Think back in your life, the teachers who changed your life. Those are the teachers who have love of you. You don't just spool out words. So too many teachers do that. If sermons and teachings can change people's lives, we would be enlightened years ago. It's a teacher who looks at you and loves you and sees you that makes a difference. So you who are wanting to do peace education, I call it love education, you have to be the love yourself and send that love to your people you're talking to. It changes their lives. I can think of one teacher in my education that changed my life when I was in junior high. She looked at me and started talking about literature and encouraging me to write stories and telling stories that interested me and read them to the class. Changed my life. And I want you to know that I love all of you. And so I want you to hear that message. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much, Stu. I think you really highlighted the power of what has been shared through Julie, Roba, Ali, and Moses' work of love really is at the center of this practice and this work. And thank you for really uplifting that value and that practice throughout the call. You've infused this call with love throughout in the chat. I saw that and just want to uplift that and acknowledge that. So thank you for bringing that into the space, and also the really profound practice of reflection and thinking of the people who have inspired us into this work and who keep us motivated and who have transformed our lives. I think that also keeps us going in this work and is something that I've seen in the work of all of our panelists as well. So thank you for bringing that into the room, Stu. Ahmad, I saw your hand earlier, so I do want to call on you next, and then we'll go to Chinonso. But Ahmad, Yunusa, feel free to unmute.
All right. Thank you so much. Good evening from here. All right. I hope you can hear me well, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I was really inspired by the speech made by different speakers, and most importantly, Mr. Moses. Thank you so much. So I have a few questions to ask. I think I do not know how I got a mail about this. When I got the mail, I was surprised because I can't remember when I made the registration, and I was like, wow. But I got the mail and then needed to join the program, and that's why I joined. And then I'm just so surprised seeing what's going on and the conversations going on. However, I have a question for Mr. Moses as it regards to peptides and what they are doing in Nigeria. Similarly, this is my first time of hearing about it, to be honest. But I know they are doing a lot, but for me, this is my first time of hearing about that. And I'm also asking, is it something that's cut across all the regions and all the states in Nigeria? And if it is so, is there anyhow anyone could volunteer? I mean, Akwa Ibom State, that's Uyo, the capital city, precisely. Is there anyhow anyone could volunteer to maybe affiliate or work with the people already established in the state, or is it not currently in Akwa Ibom? Is there any way or anyhow someone could really further this thing or this piece education? Thank you so much.
Okay, let me just answer that so that I can we can go to other questions. So currently we are even recruiting volunteers at PepNet, and we'll be 7 years old next month. So we have been doing a lot of work, just like you said, but we are also trying to be sure of our capacity to spread across. Because for us, it's more of quality over quantity right now. But we are trying to get representatives for PepNet after they have gone through those processes of training, because the major thing for us to train others, just like Stu was saying, there's a lot of capacity building for trainers themselves. And so we have a lot of procedures at PepNet because you cannot give what you don't have. And even if you have other trainings, we need to assess them to be sure. So we have volunteering engagement, we have membership plan, and possibly after now I've shared my contact, you can reach out to join the PepNet community, and from PepNet community, you will know what else to do and when we have other calls. So thank you so much for acknowledging our work, and we are so glad. We are really concerned about increasing access to everybody to join us. But we also we're working on our quality assurance so that when people go to other places, PEPNET is in Liberia, by the way, but we are reworking some structures so that we can do a lot together with quality and good operation. So it's a good one, and we hope to reach out to you or to engage you as much as your capacity can take. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Moses. And Winner, I see your hand up. Winner Agogo, feel free to unmute and ask your question or share a reflection.
All right, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Winner. I'm joining from Nigeria, and I want to say, I hope everyone can hear me. I'm loud enough. All
Yes,
right, thank you.
perfect.
Yes, I just want to make a reflection and also ask a question. So I want to say that the session has been really very insightful and impactful. And one word I got from Ali during the session was, there are no way to have peace. You know, most times we think there are specific way for us to achieve peace, but the spectrum of peace is very large. That peace means to different people in different contexts. So I remember this workshop that I was part of. Then I understood that when you want to have like a successful, probably like a community engagement, you need to be able to understand the people, use their lived experience for you to be able to, design like a project or something. So peace means to different people in different contexts. So what peace means to me is different from what peace means to you. So yeah, that one. And also to add that what Mr. Moses said, that we just need to keep putting out content about peace building and peace education, because social media is a very great tool for us to pass the message, and then we need to make it exciting. So the question is, how do we make it exciting? Because we understand that when it comes to entertainment, people are very, drawn to it, and people can pay so much to maybe go for a concert and all. But when it comes to peace building, I understand sometimes I even feel that it's new to some people. When you talk about peace, they say, what is peace? I remember I studied peace and conflict in my undergraduate level. And I remember when I tell people about, what I studied, and they're like, oh, you need to go and work in Sabisa Forest. You need to. And I was like, it is way beyond that. So now the question is, how can we really make peace very insightful for people? And also, my second question is, what are some practical approaches that educators, peace practitioners can adopt to ensure that peace education, not just about talking about it, but we see that there are real behavioral change in people? Thank you.
I can jump in first. Thank you for the great question and appreciate your reflection as well, Winner. I absolutely agree with you that, like what we were talking about earlier, of the context locally is so important. But I also want to go back to affirm that there are some universality around peace education, but then what it looks like, how it's implemented, the specific needs are, that local context is obviously crucial. So I wonder, with kind of a way to, maybe it's not like the most exciting, but at least I think really inspiring, is the World Citizen Peace Ambassador Center, and that's cared for by me at the Peace Pad. Our social media, as we're transitioning, is going to be highlighting and spotlighting peace ambassadors from around the world, and what are they doing? How are they promoting peace and the peace actions within their community? And I think that those stories, those highlights, those being able to see and understand what's happening in different contexts can provide a lot of inspiration, whether it's for taking your own peace action or like sharing, like, check this out. So at least that's something that we're planning, of like, how can we better amplify peace education and peace actions that are already happening, and then use that as a way for communities to collaborate, whether that's with different countries and regions or right within the same. So perhaps that'll be an inspiring point. And I'll just mention regarding your second question around kind of how do we really put these things into practice, I think was how you had framed it. I think, again, I would go back to first, like, what is my relationship with the 5 peace actions or these pillars? Like, how do I view them? What are the challenges and the possibilities and the actions within that? And I mean, there's such a plethora of different ways that peace education can be put into place, from that storytelling and connecting with each other about what's happening or what we'd like to see happen. And I find with children and youth, like they have such, like they're not necessarily filtering this won't work, whereas a lot of adults will be like, oh, that's not possible, this won't work, whereas children and youth really come forward with innovative ideas about, okay, here's an injustice in our community and what can we do about it? What needs to be interrupted? What needs to be supported? Whose voice is not present already within the context of this? And being able to then create actionable problem solving that's reaching out in service of their community and that problem or injustice. So I'm all for a proponent of, like, put it in, facilitate it, of course, support it, but put it in the hands of our children and youth, and I guarantee they will come up with solutions that are not only possible, but that are transformative in nature.
Thank you for that, Julie. Yeah, Roba, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Julie was saying about the tools, like letting the youth give their own voices and their suggestions. I do implement that in my own classes with the help of the Euphrates and Culturing Peace as well. We let them lead sometimes the sessions, and our plan this year is to give the students more empowerment in leading the sessions around themes of peace leadership and what they can bring instead of us speaking more than them. I think this will be so powerful. Other tools, of course, we focus a lot on communication skills and emotional intelligence, using storytelling, of course, how to express your feelings and so on. All of that inner work reflects on the bigger picture of peace education, and letting the youth actually, when they lead, they can lead with conscience rather than fumbling emotions or anger that is being kept in. So yeah, these are just some of the tools that we use in practice in our sessions, if that would be of any help.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Roba. That was the perfect addition. And before we invite a final question for all the panelists to close, I want to see Ahmad Yunusa. I see that you're back with us, and I wanted to see if you had a question or reflection, because I know you had your hand up earlier.
Good evening, everyone. Like I said, my name is Ahmad from Nigeria. So it's just today that I have never even attended any meeting like this, but this is the first time, and I enjoyed the meeting very well. Yes, I'm happy to see you all. But my question is, please, do you have any like social media group so that I will be following you? Yes, that's my question. Yes.
Wonderful. Yes, that's a perfect segue to us wrapping up. We do have social media, and we'll put the links in the chat for you to follow us. And we're so grateful for you joining us today, Ahmad, and for anybody's first time joining a Peace Leadership Collaborative event. We're so grateful you're here. Whether you know how you got the email or how you don't remember how you got the email, we're grateful you got the email, and we want you to get more. So please sign up for our mailing list, and we'll put links for all of that in the chat. And before I want to end on our panelists, so I just want to close beforehand and say thank you so much, Janeeth, for moderating today. Thank you so much, Roba, Julie, Moses, Ali, for sharing your stories and your perspectives, your visions. I know I am, and we all are just so deeply grateful for your leadership in peace education and for your inspiration today in highlighting how peace and peace education is hope, resistance, and its transformation. And thank you everyone for being here and sharing this space today. I want to let you know that we do hold these Peace Leadership Collaborative gatherings quarterly, twice around the theme of the Peace Prospects magazine, and then twice around other peace leadership topics. So it's not always a panel, there's all different formats. So please do join us again. And again, if you haven't already read the 2025 issue of Peace Prospects, we super encourage you to read it and to share it with your networks. And we invite you, of course, to join our mailing list, to follow us on social media, to contribute and donate to support our growth. As Lisa put in the chat, we are welcome to join our volunteer team and stay tuned for the next issue of Peace Prospects, which is coming out in November, so soon. So there's so many ways to get involved in the PLC. Please do not hesitate to be in touch. We're just really eager to connect and grow together. And so with that, I want to invite Roba, Julie, Ali, and Moses to share a final message with everyone, what you would like the audience to walk away with on how peace education can serve as a source of hope, of resistance, and of a pathway to transformation. We invite your final thoughts.
Should I go first?
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. So thank you very much. It has been a very enlightening discussion. Thank you very much, Sylvia and the team, for organizing this amazing event. I can see how excited Ahmed is because he can't even sit. He has to stand and talk, So he's very excited, and which is a good indicator of peace, maybe also. So, I mean, we have talked about peace as resistance and transformation. I would like to end by saying that peace is a means of hope, hope, which is different to optimism. Optimism does not imply action. Hope, philosophically speaking, implies action. So, peace that is predicated on hope, which implies some kind of action towards building a more peaceful world, a more peaceful city, a more peaceful neighborhood, a more peaceful country. And in that sense, in volatile contexts like mine, teaching peace or peace education becomes an act of resistance in itself, because we say that we refuse to inherit hate, we refuse to inherit discrimination that has been handed over to us. And in that way, peace education can give us a means, a language to heal, a decolonial language to heal, to repair, some kind of courage to question powers that harm peace, and tools that rebuild peace. And in that, I will also quickly address Winner, who said that peace education needs to be made more entertaining. It is. I mean, theater, sports, rap music, films, it can be made very, very TikToks. It can be made very, very exciting for the different audiences. It doesn't have to be a lecture. It doesn't have to be a presentation. So I think the transformation that peace education drives begins when we value empathy as much as we value opinion. In a world that is extremely opinionated and which is extremely polarized, I think we need to value and give value to empathy as much as we give to opinion. And in that, for sure, inshallah, one day we'll have peace. Thank you very much.
What a beautiful message, Ali. Thank you. I would love to say one final word for everyone. Please never underestimate any kind of connection with another person, sharing a small conversation or a story that would make a huge difference, more than you can ever imagine. I literally, with the help of many other friends, including Candace, who is with us today, we could actually save one human being out of the war because of good connections. So it is the effect of friendships and conversations and listening and having the heart to listen to other people can go way beyond what you can imagine. Once you truly connect with the other, you can never go back actually to being indifferent about the world and what's going on. So yeah, connect with people.
I'll add from that, Roba, that I think sometimes there's so, there's a lot. There's a lot of things that happen in the world and in our communities that can cause a sense of despair or apathy of like, what I do or don't do doesn't matter. Look at, XYZ. And so that hope, as Ali said, is like in that action. And I don't think we should limit what our ripple effect has, even in taking a small action of kindness, holding the door open for someone, saying hello, making a connection. It doesn't have to be this like, I'm going to save the world through doing, all of these huge, giant projects, but taking peace actions, living and breathing that within your life, your work, your relationships, and always like going back to being grounded with that, that has a ripple. And imagine that ripple if we're sharing that with others and how it's affecting them and going on to affect others. So don't discount the power of your ripple, regardless of the size of your peace actions.
I think I have no choice. I have to speak at the moment. So, and I think I will start by saying humor is also a great tool for peace building. When you discover an atmosphere is tensed, like, I was at the military headquarters today, and there is a way military, their things are a bit coordinated, and there was a time in that conversation that it was so tense. I just have to come in and just like I did now with humor, and even the major general started laughing. And from that, I could bring him from that tense position to a peaceful position, because the atmosphere of how we engage really matters. As a teacher, you don't have a choice. Your atmosphere must not be tensed. And when you see such, start by throwing some easy words, but very sensitive. Don't pick on people, which is very important. So, and for educators, just start from where you are. What do you have? What's your context? Be curious instead of being too critical. Be curious. Live life so beautifully. And because what I've noticed is that if you don't live fully, you cannot transfer whatever you have properly. So the first thing is take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Thanks to Julie, who has really, funnily, we don't even know the kind of transformation that have gone through our connections and relationships. I can tell you that the level of my own personal inner peace, since when I met Julie and now, has really gone up. But she might not be aware, that much. Though I used to, and I still do my regular works, but now my breathing exercises is getting very improved. And gradually, the more you mix up with a lot of professionals, the better for you. And that's about connection. As an educator, you cannot do this alone. No, that is a long journey. You need to work with other people. A lot of great things have come in contact with a lot of people. Julie's here. I have a lot of people here. And I'm meeting a lot of people that I know that we still do a lot of great things together. You alone cannot fix it. And if you want to move so far, you must work with people. So as a policymaker, if you're on the call, please invest in education, invest in peace. As I was discussing with some military guys, they are talking about weaponry, and we cannot be spending on weapons and expect that education transform the people. Where you spend your money determines what result you're expecting. So please, policymakers, help us. Collaborators, help us. Youth, and the more we go, we need to also be transferring mentorship to people. I was telling a general, he's already old, but he's still facilitating, which is good. And I asked him, how many people are you actually training? Very brilliant sessions, impactful, but how many people are you reproducing with this knowledge? Because when you die, everything dies with you, and that's the problem we're having. So let's keep doing what we can do and put sustainability at the center of whatever we're doing. And I'm sure gradually we will get there, one step at a time. And I'm sure we're going to get there. So anything you have, use it for peace actions. We'll meet again one of these days. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Moses. And that beautifully highlights also why we are a collaborative, because we need each other and need connections to each other and to work together on this. So thank you for highlighting that integral approach of collaboration, everyone for being here. And we super encourage you to take just something that you learned or were inspired by today and put it into practice in whatever space that you transition to next, and really live into that ripple that our panelists are sharing about. So thank you so much, everyone. We are beyond grateful. We feel all the love and are sending all the love out. And we look forward to seeing you next time. And thank you again, Roba, Ali, Julie, and Moses, and Janeth for today. We'll see you all soon. Thank you. Feel free to